everybody, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Crys'Dawna. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, welcome back, friends and family. Today I am going to be showing you a piece of furniture that I suggest that you actually take a piece of furniture like this and do it as a custom, or pick it up and turn around and sell it? No. Why am I showing you this? Because this piece that I have done behind me, it is for one of my friends who is on a very tight budget and she needs it for her eyelash business. She needs it for her eyelash business for storage, okay? So that is the only reason why I had agreed to do this piece. Now, with that being said, this piece was particle board underneath. It's not to say that maybe if you pick up a piece that's got some fabric or something on it or pleather on it that it might not have solid wood. So I thought that you would be able to pick up some at least tips and tricks on this piece that you guys can use. And then also you guys can use these techniques and mix in the colors and doing the texture and using the wax that I show you how to use to show the colors underneath. You guys can do all that stuff on your own piece of furniture. So like I said, the piece of furniture that's the subject is not something I necessarily would tell you to paint or do something with, but in this situation, we are gonna go ahead and do it. I'm gonna go like this because I don't want you guys to see it, so you gotta stay here if you wanna see it. This piece had a pleather material on the top of it and on the drawer fronts. And so I am taking my heat gun and I am going to heat it up so that way whatever adhesive was underneath there, it will come off. And really it came off fairly easy. When you're using heat gun, make sure that you are careful because it can get very hot and burn your fingers. So just heat it up and then carefully pull it off. What I found was that if you look at the body of the piece, even though it's particle board underneath, it still is all sealed with a factory finish. I assumed that this would be the case for the top and the drawer fronts, and it wasn't. But like I said, this is for my friend and we're already doing this, so we might as well just keep on going. So I'm using the heat gun and I'm going to carefully pull everything off. I am going to use a texture additive so that way we can kind of just add some texture, and that way for some of those areas that pulls up a little bit more of there, then it all kind of blends in. These were the drawer fronts. I'm just using a flathead screwdriver to pull off this faux, I don't know, suitcase look, if you will. I'm going to take the heat gun and do the same exact thing where I am going to pull this off. There was a little trim piece on the top, and so I am going to take a flathead screwdriver and carefully pull that off as well. This is what the piece looked like with all of the pleather removed. Because it's a porous particle board, I wanted to go in with a primer that was oil-based, and so we're using bin primer with shellac base. And you see how it's got some of that yellow and brown in there. You need to make sure you're mixing that up really well until it looks totally white. And then what I'm doing is I'm just doing thin layers of this on the entire piece. I wanted to minimize the amount of water-based stuff that I put on at first, only because I don't want to saturate this open particle board with any kind of water, because I don't want it to swell. And so that's why I'm using an oil-based primer first before I go in with any paint. I will sand and clean the rest of the piece that doesn't have the exposed particle board as well, so that way I can prime that and get it ready for the next step, which is painting the entire piece in Pureco's all-in-one paint. I chose an all-in-one paint as my base as well because it's got a built-in sealer, and I am trying to protect that exposed particle board as much as humanly possible. This color is called Vineyard, and I'm going to do a base coat of this on the entire piece, and then once it dries, I am going to go in and I'm going to mix Vineyard, and I'm going to use salt wash and mix that together, and I'm going to stipple that on the entire piece so that way we can not only hide the blemishes or actually make sure that the texture and the blemishes all look like one, and this way the piece will be a little bit more cohesive because it's not going to have a super smooth finish. We want to make sure that we're doing all of the texture. So I am going to do the mixing and then add the texture on the entire piece as well. After I add the texture, I will allow it to completely dry, and then I will take a sanding block and just lightly sand it to knock down any rough areas, just to make it a little bit more smooth. I know texture and smooth don't really go together, but I just want to make sure that it's more even. The next step is taking this Painterly furniture paint. It is a blendable furniture paint. It is highly pigmented, and I'm going to put this in random spots. So this color is called Peacemaker, and then the next one is called Love Language. And this is going to be over the base coat that we have. And what I will do is I will show you here in a second how to expose these colors once you have put another coat on top of these. The main color on this piece, my friend wanted a sort of minty neon, and she showed me a picture, so I matched it as much as I could. What we're doing is we're going to add Old 57, which is by DIY Paint. This is their traditional clay paint. And then we're going to add a couple colors of the new Painterly. So this one is Dreamville, and I just added a little bit. I can't give you actual measurements. And then I added Glow Up. And what I did is I mixed them together and just hoped for the best. The next step in this will be to take some DIY wax and clear, and I am going to add this over any of those areas that I want to expose through that neon minty color we made. So we're going to add it onto Love Language, those areas that we put, and then we're going to put it over some of those areas with that Peacemaker. And what's going to happen is we're going to paint over with that color that we just mixed, and this is going to act as a resist, so I will be able to take a towel and blot it, and it will pull back that paint that we're going to paint over top, and it's going to expose these colors through that minty color we just made. Once you are done adding your wax, you're going to allow it to sit for just a little bit to settle in, and then you're going to go over it with the paint color that you're going to do on top, which is the one that we mixed. And so we're going to add that. I'm going in different directions. So DIY paint is a clay paint, and so it's going to be able to add more texture as we paint in different directions as well. So it's just going to add to the look of this piece. And so again, I am putting this all over top of the drawer front. And then what I will do is once I want to expose those colors underneath, I'm going to take a microfiber cloth and I'm going to dab those areas, which I will show you here in a second. There are a few reasons why I did that darker green base coat, and one is so that you can see it through the DIY paint in some areas, and so it adds more of a grungy old world look, and two, because it was the all-in-one getting ready for the clay paint. But right here, what I'm doing is taking a microfiber cloth and just carefully dabbing the areas that I had wax where it's acting as a resist. You can dab the paint off and then go slightly back and forth to kind of wipe it off. If you pull too much off, you can take your paintbrush and kind of dab around it, and that way you can add a little bit more paint. But this is how you're going to expose those two colors underneath that we had put down before we put down this coat. Once you are done doing this, you are going to allow your piece to sit. I usually allow it to sit for about 24 hours and let that wax start just curing. And then I'm going to go over the entire thing with DIY's Big Top. It is a top coat. What it's going to do is protect this piece, and it's also going to deepen the color. So with clay-based paint, it does lighten up once it starts drying, but once you wax it or top coat it, it's going to deepen it back up and enrichen those colors, as you can see right here. It is okay to go over the waxed areas with this because we've pulled back all that wax and we've allowed 24 hours for it to really start curing. I have not had any issues with it, so if you want to try it, go ahead. Some people probably will yell at me for it, but like I said, I didn't have any issues with it, and so I was comfortable with going over this entire piece. Plus, we need to seal it in as much as we can because remember, there is still that particle board underneath, and so that was the final step, is to just cover everything and protect everything and then hope for the best when she puts it in her area. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here is the final piece. It's a really cute little rustic piece. It's got some nice little pops of color for her eyelash business and so that she can have some storage. It's not the best piece of furniture. It has decent bones, but obviously it's not something that I would turn around. I mean, I've told her, I was very clear with her what the capabilities and what the shape is and what this can do and what this can't do. And so if you do decide that you're going to do a piece like this and it's got the particle board, you need to be very open and honest either with your client or with yourself if you're going to keep it in your house. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. I hope you learned something along that little journey. Until next time, happy creating, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.
Hey, darling, can I tell you what's been on my mind? Sick and tired of the 9 to 5 in the city life. Hey, darling, we could get out of town, see the beautiful world around, wanna see it now. Pack our bags and get in that car, leave a little note and we'll drive real far. Let's get